All right, so welcome back to the second part of this webinar. All right, so as you all know, the last section was focused on general introduction of Excel, where I taught you how to define Excel, the application areas, and the how to work with the entire interface. Took our time to identify the major components of a cell workspace. So this section I'll be talking about data entry, which is the very foundational aspect of Excel. Most of us, the data analysts, most time we are given data collected by someone else. So as a result of that, there are a lot of skills that we must have escaped. There are a lot of technical skill that we must have escaped because as a data analyst, once you are given the data computed by another person, you have no business in recomputing it. You will just take it the way it's given to you and start probably cleaning it up and then preparing it for your analysis, and then you start your analysis. You start drawing insight from it for making informed business decision. But I can tell you there are a whole lot of things such an analyst has actually missed. So that is why it is very important you know how to collect data. There are a lot of skill sets that comes with it. There are a lot of tools. There are a lot of functions that you'll be exposed to in this section. And I want you to realize, get your water, make sure you are not dehydrated, make sure you stay connected, and then you move alongside with me. All right, so what is data entry? Data entry in this context or in data engineering, what it simply means is you imputing record, you imputing data, bringing data together, collating of data, entering of data, formulating data sets or data system on the worksheet. So that is the simple definition of data entry. Now, there are different in the field of data analysis. There are different personnel with different roles. There are people we call the data entry personnel. Their work is just to enter the data, probably organize them for the data analyst or the data scientist. So this session, we're talking about how to use Excel to prepare a data system that will help an organization like supermarket to track their sales. So what is sales inventory we are about to design? Sales inventory is a data system or is a data system that helps you or a business organization to record their sales transaction, to track their daily sales transaction. At the end of the day, they will be able to know through this system we want to design the total number of customers that visited them, the quantity of items they purchased, the unit cost of an item to the customer, the balance if you are running accrual type of business where customer have to pay you certain percentage as their initial payment and then later on they come to balance you. So this system is very comprehensive that it can report all these that I mentioned, even beyond, to whoever or to your boss, because you can't stand in front of your boss. For example, I start telling your boss, so customer came and purchased that, purchased it, purchased that. There is no need for that. You can store, you can create all this conversation in a cell. So this particular data that you must have created, it is called what? Sales reporter or sales inventory. Now to start with, where do I start from? Now, the best place to start from is for you to set up the worksheets. And what is worksheet setup? The word setup in this case means what? Organizing, programming the key component of the program, the workspace, in order before you start your entry. So the benefit is that you have a kind of more organized data, and then you have more standard record at the end of the day. So what are these features that I need to consider? Though by default, Microsoft Office have already programmed standard setting, which are called the default setting. Well, you are to look at the nature of data or record you want to collect. That will determine whether you can go ahead with the Office settings, or there is need for you to adjust one of those things that Office will have set in order to suit what you want to do. So in this case, what are the features? One, you have to set your page, your worksheet margins. Though the viewing pattern, the viewing method I'm using right now does not really allow to access the margin, but definitely there are margins there. You're going to see it as I continue. Then you have to set your worksheet orientation, the paper, having in mind that at some point or someday somebody might want to print whatever I must have collected. So the orientation in this case means the presentation of your record, which can only be landscape or portrait. Landscape means horizontal, portrait means vertical. Now, the factor that should determine whether you are to use landscape or portrait is you considering the numbers of the headings or the data object, which I've already discussed in the first class. If, for instance, now I'm going to create sales inventory that will generate up to 15 headers, then I shouldn't use portrait. I should use what? Landscape. So that is just the idea behind selecting orientation. Now, the next thing you need to consider is the paper size for your data collection. We have different sizes of paper. We have A4, we have a whole lot of them. So which one do you think? But as far as an office is concerned, most of them uses what? A4. So you can program it on A4. Now we also have another important feature to consider, which is called what? Print title. So one, the margin, the orientation, the paper size, the print title, they are very key. You need to consider their settings before you start your entry. All right? Okay. Now, if that is clear, now let me quickly walk you through how to manipulate these features that I just mentioned. For example, I want to collect my data and I want to set my margin. You go to page layout and then come to what? Margin. And then from margin, you'll be able to see the preset margin. The preset margins are margins that have been programmed by Microsoft. Microsoft have done its own statistics and found out that majority of the user uses what? Normal, based on the setting. So you can just come here and implement the one that Microsoft have set if it suits your work. Now, peradventure, the margin you see here, maybe you have gone through all the available margin, none of them can suit what you want. Then you have the privilege of going to custom margin and then set your margin to your own taste. Now, one rule that should guide you when you are doing this is that the principle is that the opposite side should be equal. For example, if I am updating the left margin to this, what the law says is that the side facing it, which is the right, should be updated to the same side. So for any reason you are adjusting this is for the header, this is for the what? The footer. Well, I'm talking about these four main margins, the right, the top, the left, the bottom. If I'm taking this to 1, then this should also be 1. The idea is that for you to be able to centralize your record when it's printed out. So you can also consider some factor that will centralize it. You can say centralize it what? Horizontally, or centralize it what? Vertically. So these are some additional settings you can apply. And then if you want, you depend on the one you set, or you can just activate any of them and then click OK. So that is all for the margin. So with this, I have been able to set up my margin. Now, I want you to observe something. The moment you implement any of this setting, now there is now an introduction of these broken lines. This broken line you are seeing helps you to know the beginning of one paper and the end, sorry, the end of one paper and the beginning of the other. Like I told us in the introduction class, I said the worksheet is very wide. Putting this into consideration, you don't expect everything you created here or you create here to be compressed into what? One paper like A4. So what you are having right now, these are different segments of A4. For example, now this is one A4, this is another A4, this is another A4. So if you go down, you will see the end of it, and then you see the beginning of the other. So you can see, let me go down, take this away, and show you. Now look at this. As it's going, you see a horizontal broken line that defines the height of that paper. So when you are working, once your work, for example, you are typing here and you get to this, it means you have already crossed from one paper to another. So that is the benefit of setting your margin. Now, if you want to know the amount of space you actually set aside as your margin, just switch from this view that we have, which is normal, to the page layout view. Page layout view will allow you to view it the way you used to view it in Microsoft Word, that probably allow you to view your margin. But if you are on normal view, the only way you will know where one paper ends is with the help of this broken line. All right. Now, I am still explaining those components you need to set as your worksheet setup before you start entering of your data. So I've explained margin and you know what margin is. You know how to customize your margin size. Now, going to orientation, which I've described before. Orientation simply means the presentation of this paper you just selected. You want the paper to be presented horizontally to allow you to capture more headers or vertically. So by default, it's already programmed on portrait. So I can change it where my data set will have much headers. So I have to work with what? Landscape. So that I can have more column in a single paper. Now, coming to the paper size, this is where you choose the size. By default, Microsoft have already set it on what? Letter. So, like I told you, most offices uses what? A4. Though the size between A4 and letter, they are not that really what? Much. Sometimes you can work with letter and print on A4 without noticing any major differences. So, but to do the right thing, you can click on it. All right, so that is how to set your margin, your orientation, your paper size. All right, I hope we are following. All right, so let me quickly talk about this, the next one, which is going to be the last component to consider under worksheet setup. What are those things I need to set before I start entering my data? But nevertheless, the print title is not a compulsory feature. The only ones that are compulsory are margin, orientation, and size. But I just felt let me teach you the print title because there are a lot of stress it can save you from. Now, what is the print title? The print title, from the name print title, it means that when you are printing, it will add a title to your printout. So it means when you are working and you are working on this view, normal, you will not be able to see whatever you must have programmed there. So the print title is just like a function that helps you to program certain information as constant. As constant, what does that mean? These informations are bound to be replicated automatically, either at the top of all the sheet used or at the bottom of what? The sheet. And this is going to be achieved through what we call the header and footer. The header means top, the footer means bottom. So how do we use it? Quickly, let's quickly go there. Now you click on it. Now the data set, like I told you, we are going to be creating is called sales inventory, which I've already defined. This sales inventory, what do I need to develop it? Is a system that will be working automatically. How do I, what do I need? One, you need the company you are developing it for. You need their names. So there are three key information I'm going to program as the header. So which becomes like the letter heading. So whenever you are printing any content from this sheet, this information I'm programming here will be stapled on them. All right. So what are those things? The company name should be programmed there, the address of the organization, the accounting period, the sales inventory period. Let's say sales inventory for December 2023. So this and the logo. So for example, I want to program all these as my header so that there won't be need for me to consider them in the worksheet body. So I'll go to header and footer. And then from here, I will customize header because I want this information to appear at the top of the, the page. So I click on this. Then I have three alignment. Alignment means the positioning of your contents at the top. Do you want them to be positioned at the left-hand side of that top, or the center of that top, or the right-hand side of that top? So I would like the logo to be here, and then I will want the company name, the address, and the period, the data set type to be here. So let me quickly compute that. Let's assume Digitech C, Digitech Z, and then followed by, that is the name of our platform where we offer different online training that cut across different IT programs. Now, Digitech C is the name of the organization. Then the address, I can just say Asaba because we operate majorly on virtual, so we don't have physical center at the moment. Now, Asaba Delta States. Then what type of data set are you collecting? Like I told us, says inventory. Yeah, then you need to define the time frame. So I can just say sales inventory in a bracket. I will just say what for December 2023. Then I close the bracket. All right, so I have been able to compute what I want to program as my print title. What will be printed out whenever I am printing anything from this worksheet. So, but I need to format it. Formatting is part of what we need to know as data analysts. Formatting is another way you are analyzing your data. It's another way you are differentiating your data components. How do you, differentiate the hierarchy between the name of the company, the address, and the period, the accounting frame? Is when you format them differently. Now, how do you do that? You simply highlight any part of this you want to format. Then you click on this A tab to explore your basic formatting feature. So for example, now, being the principal data, I'll make it 20. And then we have to work with color, what we call color combination. Colors are also means of passing different information. The way you color your entry, we have a way of making someone to understand your message. So I'll click here to choose handwriting. Then I click OK. So I've already formatted that. Then I'll go to the next section. Of course, this shouldn't compete with that. So I'll leave it at black. And then since you use 20, I'll use something less than that. Let's say 16. And then I'll choose a lesser font. Let's say Arial. I will not want to be thick as the heading. Now, this is very important because this is what validates the data. This is what gives someone an idea of the validation of what the data. So I click here and then I'll choose, let's say red. I'm combining my color and then I'll give it like 14. And then I can even give it underline because it's very important. So I click here. So let's assume this is what I want. Now, going to the logo. Now, if I click OK now for you to see it, you see what we have done. Now, while you are here, you are not going to see, like I said. But if I switch from this view to this view, I should be able to see whatever I programmed there. So if I am here and I want to see how it's going to be, so if I try printing, you will notice that Excel will say no value found because you have not entered the activator. What is the activator? They are called print titles where you are printing content. So you have not typed anything. So just activate a value here and go back again. You will notice a cell will preview what you have programmed over there. All right, so now I want to go to the logo section. So since I'm on the internet, I can quickly download a logo. If I want, I just go to my Google and then download a simple logo. Just download a simple logo. So let's say logo. Quickly, logo. If you don't have internet, no worry. You can create one with your graphics. Go to what? Image. But remember, if you are doing this for an organization, you are going to actually ask them. So let's say I'm taking this, and then I can just take this and select what? Save as. And then target somewhere within my system where I can pick it from. On desktop, I'll just say logo. Then click. Now I go back to my Excel. Now I'm going back to the print title so that I can program the logo. So I go again, print title, from page layout, print title, go to header and footer, click on header, then I come to this section. Then now this is the part, this is the link, the button or the command that will enable you to what? To call in that logo that you just downloaded. So you simply click on it. Because I am on the internet, that is why I try to search through my system, but I can say no, browse from my file, which is my local system. So I go to desktop where I store the logo, and then I select what? Logo. Then I click. So the logo is here. If you want to see it, click OK. You are going to see the logo. So let's see if the logo is there. If it's not there, we are going to find out why the logo is not there. Good. The logo is there. Now, if you want to adjust the logo position, probably the side, that's the reason why it's as if it's extended beyond the header. So what do? I'll go back to the print title, select the header and footer, then click on what? The custom header. Then you use this format picture. The moment you add an image, this will become active. So click on it and then set the size of the picture, the height and the width. Reduce it. Sorry, it was too much, so let's reduce. Let's reduce, and click OK. So by the time we go back, we discover that what we will have adjusted it. So let me see it again. Print preview, check. All right, so it's better. So it's probably aligned right now. Okay, so we have done that. So the next part we want to dive into without wasting much of your time is to create our headers for the sales inventory. Now we are programmed the meta information. That is what information that describe what we are doing. Now I will count down 5 rows. The reason is that I'm trying to leave space for the what? The header that I have programmed over there. So that when I'm printing, there will not be issue of what? Overlapping. So I will start by creating my headings. When you are developing data set as an analyst or data engineer, you start from, listing out your headings. These headings are not just going to be listed out anyhow. You have to attach a goal to each of them. What are they going to do? Why do you choose to use serial number? For example, I'm using serial number because I noticed that I can no longer work with this serial number. Moreover, when I'm printing a set program, they are not going to be what? Printed out. So for every header you are creating, you must attach a reason to it. So the next one, based on what are the objective? Look at the objective. What the organization want to actually achieve with this data system. So once you have been able to understand the objective, then it becomes easier for you to know these headings that are involved. So one, they want to track their revenue, their sales inventory. So it means that I need a column to record the name of their customers. So I will now introduce customer name. Now, they also want to know the type of gender that actually what patronize them. So I'll put what? Sex there. So you can see how I'm generating this header. based on the objective, what I want to achieve, what they want to achieve. Because you will have had a chat with the manager when giving this contract. You will have asked one or two questions. What is their goal? What is their objective? So that you know how to come up with a data system that will actually be a solution to some of those problems they must have listed to you. So now they want to know the date of transaction. Okay, so I'll bring the date. So I'm targeting the customer detail before I shift to the product detail in this case. So let's assume that they want to know the states each customer come from. They want to know the country, depending on the type of business you are doing. Now, let's assume these are the only customer details or biodata they want to collect. Now, let's go into the product detail. So I'll start with the product name. Product name, then the quantity of the products they are going for, at which rate, that is what the price per one. Then total cost, total cost, total cost or total price is how much it's going to cost the customer. Now there is a challenge here. The challenge here is that this particular header have exceeded 8 column width. So how do you resolve things like this? You can actually resolve a couple of them at once. So since I know that I'm going to experience the same thing, let me set the whole of this to a particular size. So you highlight across the number of columns you want to adjust their size. You go to home and then you come to format and then you select what you want to adjust is the column width, not the row height. So I select column width. The current column width is what? 8.43 inches. So since I want to increase, then I impute a higher value there. Let me work with 12, and then you see how all of them. So 12 has been able to what to fit this text. And then I press Ctrl S as you start updating your record. Now, the next thing, a company can have a system that helps them to give out a discount, like the season we are now. People are busy giving different discounts. So let's say you want to give them discount, so you type discount, discount, and this discount should go with a defined percentage, so that whoever you are tendering this to will know which percentage you use in calculating the value, because we are not going to state the discount there as a 5%, 6%, because we are using just uniform discount system. If we want to use different discount percentage, then we will have what? Be a list, we will have just list out different what? Products discount. But in this case, we are using one. So we define, let's say we want to give them 5%. Or let's say 10% of the total cost of the item they are purchasing. Now you can double click here to expand instead of you going through the other method. Now, the next thing we want to capture here is that after giving out certain discount, the company wants to know how much they should be expecting as the actual price of that product. So that will bring in what? Actual what? Price. Now I will double click here to expand it. Then after actual price, they want to know the VAT. The VAT, let's say the company actually VAT the customers on buying each of those products. VAT means value added tax, is an indirect way of taxing your customer. A government will call it tax directly on you. Then you call it what? VAT. So just like you charging them for providing them the service, just like the way your government charge you for providing you space, the land for doing business. Now, after that, we want, since we are running accrual type of business, we want deposit, means what? The certain percentage they have to pay before you offer them the service. So in this case, you need to also define that percentage. So we like them to pay 60% of the total cost or of the actual cost or the actual price of the product they are buying. I will expand it also. Now the next one is the balance. the balance. The balance is the outstanding. Now, once you are done with this, then you will call formatting, because this is not just entering, this is entering and formatting. That is, when you enter any information, you want to improve its appearance, you should be able to do that when you have knowledge of this tool for doing that. Quickly, now I want to, these are my principal variables, my headers, and I'm expecting to collect record under each of them. So for that reason, I need to differentiate the header from the records that will be coming under them. So professionally, instead of you clicking and dragging manually, Excel has AI. The AI Excel is so awesome that there are a lot of things can do for you automatically. For instance, I've just selected where I want to start my selection from. So I will hold down the control button together with the shift, and then I'll click the what? The right arrow button. Excel start from where I started from and end exactly where the last attribute end. And then once that is done, I go to my home, and then I'll come to this bucket for the background color. Then I'll click here for the right top color, and then I can vote. Now, just to make it a little bit spacious, the row, I want to increase the row height, because I discovered that there is no what we call padding. The entries are too closer to the border lines around them. So I want some space. How do you do that? You go to home, and then you come to what? Format, then select row height this time around. So the standard row height is 15. Now, since we want to increase, I'll put like 27 there. Then I click OK. So you can see I've been able to expand that particular row. Now, but the next challenge I'm having now is that the entries are no longer at the middle of what? The cell. So I will use these alignments. This control the vertical alignment, while this control the horizontal alignment. So I can click here to bring it to the top. So you can just play around them and see what they have. So with that, I'm good to go. So now I previewed my work to see how it's going to come out when I'm printing. You can see because we activated center during that setup. So let me come here and go back to the header and go back to the margin rather, then turn off the horizontal so that we can have it the way we want it. So you can see with this, I've been able to bring it closer to my print title. So with this, you have a very good report. Now you will now start creating your record. Now you have only created the objects, the heading. Now the record, I'll start with number 1 because I'm no longer depending on this numbering. So you type the first number 1. So the moment you type the first number 1, you are not supposed to be entering this number, these numbers manually. As a professional user of Excel, what we call what? Fit series. Fit series is an inbuilt system that can help you to what? Once we have given an example, it will help you to generate order by following that example. But before I go into that, I can discover that my alignment is wrong. Look at where the numbering is. Look at where the description is. So this is totally wrong. So it's going to affect all the areas I'm going to use. So I'll select across. So I'll just do it once and for all. Like I told you, this is the alignment that should be responsible for that. So I'll click on what? The left alignment. So I've been able to what? Align it. So I'll click on this first number. Now position your insertion pointer, the big plus, on the dotted edge. You notice that as soon as it touches here, the plus changes from the size it is to the smaller one. So once you can see it, hold down the left button and drag. Then to generate a couple of numbers, repeating the same number. Click on the icon while you are still selecting. Click on what? Fit series, and that will update it. Then after that, peradventure you want to continue. You thought you are going to stop at row 7, but now you have more record to enter. You click on the last value and then do the same thing. Then click here, then update. So that is how to renumber your sheet. If you go to print now, you will notice that only those ones that you created that are showing. The one that came by default, they are not showing. So quickly I go to my customer name. How do you get this information? You get them from the receipt or the invoice you must have issued to them. So let me just enter. Your first customer is always Mr. Prosper. So Rita, Peter. Now, they will call a cell AI. When you are entering data, that is if it is necessary, because I don't want to waste your time. Now, you highlight these three names. What it means is that these are the only three customers that comes to buy things from me regularly. If it is not Prosper, it's Rita. So I want Excel to fill up the remaining numbers with this same three entry. So I'll double click on that dotted edge, and Excel does that for me. Now the gender, this is male, and this is female, this is male. So I want Excel AI to also what? Replicate the same thing for me. So since I did not consume more space, there's no need. I will just manually reduce this. Now date. Date is a reserved word in your system. If you try auto-filling it, it's going to update. For example, I have this 2023. If I auto-filled it, because it's already in the program library, you can see it's updating it from 3 to 4. But meanwhile, this customer came the same day. So you copy it. Copy, then highlight other empty cell you want to fill with that same date. After you have selected it and click on copy. Then you now come here, select paste. Then the state, let's say data. Press enter to go to the next cell. Let's say Edo. Press enter, let's say Lagos. Then highlight everything and also what? Autofill. Now, country, let's say Nigeria. Nigeria, let's say UK, let's say Canada. Canada, I don't know if I'm correct with spelling of Canada. Then you do the same. Now, product they purchase from you, let's say printer, mouse, let's say laptop. Then you do the same, autofill. The quantity, how many of them? Now, in the case of quantity, now I want you to look at one wonderful thing Excel is going to do for you. Let's assume that the range between the number of quantity should be 10. So if here is 20, then here should be 30. And then what it means is that it's going to increase it by 10. So you highlight the two numbers, then autofill. Excel is scientific enough to know that. Then for the rates, how much one item will be sold to them, let me also work with that. Let's say 5,000, difference of 1,000. So the next one will be 6,000. Then I do the same thing, highlight the two value, autofill. All right. Now let's quickly go to this is what I talked about the other time, that when you are entering data, we have direct entry and then we have query entry. So direct entry, like I told you before, they are the ones you enter without any form of formula. You can see that while I was entering all this, I did not use any formula. They are called direct entry. Now, starting from total price to balance, you are going to use query formula. What is query formula? Query formula, this is the formula you construct with the help of operators and argument. Argument in this case means the range of the cell. Remember, I've talked about this before. And then operator in this case, they are special signs. They are the signs that join your argument together in order to provide result. And these operators in a cell can be divided into three categories. We have the arithmetic operator, we have the logical operator, we have the relational operator. So let me just quickly explain them. The arithmetic operators are the usage of mathematical signs, arithmetic sign like plus, minus, times. We are going to use some of them when we start now to compute other information. Then relational operators are those operator signs you use that compare two value equals to, greater than, less than. Then logical operator, they are statement-based operator. They are operator you use when you are constructing statements. You're going to see it as we go on, probably in the next uh, class. Now, to start with, the rule in Excel when you are entering formula, they're what we call data type in Excel. So you know why we are observing this rule. We have what we call label. Label means entering of text-based information like Prosper, they are labeled. Number means ordinary number. There is no principle in entering them. Whether you enter them in lowercase or uppercase, they will be accepted by the worksheet. But when it comes to formula entry, which is the entering of what? Predefined functions, targeting to provide results, you need to observe the rule. And what are the rules? That wherever you want to output the answer, you must start with what? Equals to. That equals to tells Excel engine that whatever that comes after it is a formula. And then if it is a formula, then it should provide an answer. That is what we are saying. Now, you either start with equals to or you start with plus sign. But I advise people not to use plus sign because if you, for example, if you are performing a kind of simple arithmetic calculation where you are adding a value and you are subtracting, the minus there will have a way of affecting the positive sign. So that is why I advise you to stick to what equals to. Now, what is the argument function for calculating total price? We need to know the direct function, which is the DF. The direct function is what will inform me how to go about what? The query function. The query function is the query function or the formula is the formula I'm going to use to tax Excel. But before that, I need to have an idea of the direct formula. The direct formula in terms of communicating it, what it means is that Prosper, mail, this date, from data, Nigeria, product, he wants to buy printer from you, and you have told him, he have told you that you want to buy 20 of them. You have replied him that, okay, one of them out of the 20 will cost you 5,000. And then he's asking you that, okay, how much will the entire 20 of this printer cost me as your customer? That is what you want to write a query formula to find out. So the query formula for this, the direct formula is quantity times rate. You need to get that right. Now, if my direct formula says I should multiply quantity by rate, in Excel, you don't focus on the number, you focus on the variables that is storing this value. Variable in this case means what? Which container is storing 20? Which container is storing what? 5,000 that I want to multiply to get total price. So now you click on, instead of you typing now you want to reference 20 variable. You are not typing H, you don't work with your artificial numbering, H6. Excel have highlighted it. That is not professional. You don't need to do that. Just click on it. Excel will call the argument. Sorry about that. So equals to, and then I'll just click here. Excel will call it. You don't need to waste your time typing it by yourself. You are a professional. Now you bring in the operator. This is the reason why I was talking about the operator. Because when you are constructing argument-based function, you need to join them. You need to conjunct them with what? One of the operator, either the arithmetic or the logical or the relational. In this case now, what does the direct formula say? That I should multiply quantity by rate. It means that I'm using arithmetic operator times. So I will type my times, locate it in your keyboard, probably represented with the asterisk or shift and 8. And then once you have called that, then you will now call the next variable because I am multiplying 20 by 5,000 and I have only called 20 variable, which is what? H6. Now I will now call 5,000 variable by clicking on it and then I'll press enter. Excel have generated it. You know what? You don't need to do that same thing here. Use this one that you have already generated to autofill for the rest, which means what? Take the formula I use here, put it here. When it gets here, locate the corresponding variables, 30, and multiply it by this. Now, how do you do that? Just double click here. Excel will fill it up for you automatically. So that is settled. Now, going to the discount, you have already defined the discount rate, which is what? 10%. So all you need to do is just to start with your equals to. Then in this case, now we are going to call only one variable That is what, out of the two variables needed to compute your discount, you have one with you. There is no place within this worksheet. Supposing you have entered the 10% here, then you can reference it. But in this case, you only mention it. There is no place where you have typed it. So what it means is that you impute it manually by yourself. 1, 0, 10. You hold down the shift button and press 5 to what? To attach the percentage symbol. Then you bring in your operator, which is same times, and then you reference this discount on this, on this, on this, on this, and then you press enter, and that's automatically what create it for you. All right, so I will stop here first. When we come back in the next edition, I'll complete this.